Good morning, everyone. Today we're checking out a brand new video from the Film Theorist about who was the most evil X in Scott Pilgrim. And honestly, I can't even recall all 7 of them. The only 2 I actually remember was her one girl X, and then the vegan X guy. Aside from that, I don't remember any of them. Let's hop in and see who it was.
Which evil X in Scott Pilgrim vs. the World
Okay, no, correction. I remember this guy because he was actually the big bad.
is the evilest evil X?
The
If we
final
take a deep
bad,
dive into their psychology and count up their crimes, who's really the big bad and who ends up as just chump change? Strap in, friends, as we get into this battle of the baddies.
Battle of the Baddies. That sounds... I like
Hello,
it.
Internet! Welcome to Film Theory, the show that wants to know if you've seen a girl with hair like this. And welcome to the first episode of Romance Month. Yeah, in celebration of Valentine's Day, for the entire month of February, I thought it would be fun to cover topics related to the season of love. Are some of them admittedly a bit of a stretch to fit into that theme? Maybe, maybe not.
Most
You'll
likely.
just have to subscribe to find out. But first up, we're talking the cult classic Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. If you don't know, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is an adaptation of a graphic
movie.
novel series all about a directionless 20-something named Scott Pilgrim as he fights for the affections of the cool new girl in town, Ramona Flowers. However, Ramona has a bit of a dark past.
Prepare to feel
7
the
evil
wrath
X's.
of the League of Evil X's.
Yeah, if Scott wants to date Ramona, he'll need to defeat her 7 evil ex-lovers in actual physical combat to the death. So I'm gonna be real with you, loyal theorists. This is some
Gotta go video game on them.
true selfish Lee content. I mean, we are not doing this one for the views, I'll tell you that much. Even if
I'm
nobody
here for
watched it
them.
when it came out, this is straight up one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah,
It
it's
combines
good.
all of the things I love. Movies, video games, rock music, and one of the best casts in a film I've ever seen. All before they were famous.
He's famous and he talked to me.
Yeah, actually, the blonde vegan guy, and y'all probably are not gonna believe this, ended up playing Superman.
And to think, my friends actually had to drag high school Lee to see this movie because I was in my pretentious movie snob phase. I went in blind and was dead from laughter by the end of it. Had me leaving the theater like...
That's actually hilarious.
And now, more than a decade later, I really wanted to take another look at this movie through the lens of a theorist. And of course, the theory here just jumped out and hit me right in the face. Like, if we had a league of evil X's all conveniently numbered, that would imply that some of them are worse than others, right? So, could we...
I don't think they're numbered like that. I think they're also numbered in order of date. Like, you know, like you have the first X and then you have the 7th X. Like, this is the most recent. This would have been the first.
possibly find a definitive rank for how evil each of the evil X's are? A loyal theorist named Boone over on the Film Theorist subreddit actually made a post similar to this idea, and we actually reached out to him to see if he'd like to write for us. So if you ever have any ideas like this, pitch them over there. We're always on the lookout for talented minds. Anyway, that's what I wanted to tackle today. If we looked at what each of the evil X's actually do in this movie, who would be the evilest evil X, and who's actually not so bad?
He's just a really nice guy.
Strap in, loyal theorists,
let's
and
do this.
prepare for battle. So, first order of business here, let's set some ground rules just so we're all clear.
Is that not clear? Is that not clear?
Firstly, we're going to be focusing mostly on the
no.
film Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. This franchise has a lot of
Good, because I've never read the comics.
different versions of the same story. The graphic novels, the video game, the anime, all of which do their own thing.
Oh, yeah, I
So,
forgot
to
that
keep
was an
things
anime.
simple, we're going to be leaving it up to the film and using those other sources just for additional color. Secondly, while we will be considering the personalities and motivations for each of the evil X's when putting together this order, the main thing we're going to be looking at to gauge their evilness are the crimes they commit and the punishments they'd suffer. Yeah, it turns out trying to quantify psychology is very difficult, and
Yeah,
I'll stay
okay.
in my lane, thank you very much. Finally, we're going to be using the laws as they apply in Toronto, Canada, since this story
Really
takes
now?
place there.
Not so long ago, in the mysterious land of Toronto, Canada.
And all of the laws have to be real laws, so sadly the vegan police
All right.
have no jurisdiction here. So with all of that out of the way, who's up first? Who managed to find themselves as the least evil Evil X? Well,
Number 7 and number 6, the Katayanagi twins.
Who the
Oh,
hell are the
okay.
Katayanagi twins?
Oh.
You don't know?
Yeah, so admittedly, this comes down more to the fact that Ken and Kyle Katayanagi aren't really given too much to do in the movie, so their rap sheet is a bit smaller as a result. These two dated Ramona at the same time, though the Katayanagis weren't aware of that fact. Basically, she was cheating on both of them with the others, so, you know, fair that they might be a little upset about that. When the Katayanagis discovered the truth, they swore that they'd do everything together from now on so it wouldn't happen again. These two are much bigger characters.
Yeah, kind of like Glim and Glam in a way from Hell of a Boss.
In the graphic novel and anime, where they're
if those two are twins, I don't know. They could be twins, they could not be twins.
Arrogant and cunning and intelligent. But in the movie, yeah, they were more or less just henchmen for the League of Evil X's. I mean, they didn't even have lines. As such, from the film theory perspective, yeah, they're just kinda here, playing music. Funnily enough, because this is the cartoonishly over-the-top world of Scott Pilgrim, this battle of the bands would leave the Katayanagis in a little bit of hot water. But not because of the battle itself, instead it's because of this right here.
They tore the roof off!
Yeah, during one of their musical attacks, they damaged the roof of the Ninth Circle venue. In Canada, this would absolutely count as criminal mischief, the legal name for property damage, and since it caused more than $5,000 in damages, it would absolutely land them a 10-year prison sentence and a $5,000 fine. Likewise, the damage would put all of the guests here in danger, giving both of the Katayanagis a reckless endangerment charge, landing them another 5 years. So yeah, that's not actually all that much, but we also have to factor in the sentences they'd get just for being part of the League of Evil X's.
Yes,
yeah, turns out that tracking down Scott,
I mean, it is a group, so it makes sense.
Attacking him and conspiring to kill him wouldn't look so good in the eyes of the law. Just like most of the other X's in the League, Kyle and Ken would rack up charges for criminal harassment, that's the legal name for stalking, disorderly conduct, planning to commit a crime with others, assault with a deadly weapon, that's their Sonic Dragons, aggravated assault, conspiracy to commit murder, and attempted murder. The punishments for all of these are up on screen, we don't need to go through them individually. So, all in all, the Katayanagis are looking at 63 years in prison, plus 2 life sentences, and a $5,000 fine each.
Talk about a stack of yields.
Again, almost all of that coming from just being part of the League of Evil X's. Considering how much we don't know about these guys, they actually walk away looking pretty okay, unlike the next entry on our list.
Number 5, Lucas Lee.
Lucas Lee.
He seems nice.
The man that would become Superman.
Yep, it's Captain America himself, Lucas Lee.
Nope, wrong guy. I made a mistake.
This is actually probably my favorite of the Evil X's, and not just because we share a name. He's just a great character. Lucas dated Ramona during their freshman year of high school, though Ramona doesn't exactly have kind words to say about him.
Just not his little brat. He just followed me around.
Yeah, this was a pretty one-sided relationship. Important to Lucas, not so much to Ramona. And it ended when Ramona cheated on Lucas with another of the Evil X's. Now, the film's Lucas Lee is very different from the graphic novel version of the character. Though they're both skaters turned actors, the film character is much more successful and very self-centered as a result.
Hi. Big fan.
Why wouldn't you be?
Fun fact, this is an actual interaction that happened with the film's director and another rock star. Just kind of a funny factoid.
Oh, really now?
And he's very obsessed with his image.
You really think you can goad me into doing a trick like that?
There are girls watching.
Interestingly, though, that's kind of about it. He's a jerk, yes, and he wants to kill Scott, which is bad, but mostly he seems to have moved on. Also gotta say, we stan an actor that properly credits his stunt doubles and treats them well.
What can I say? I'm nothing without my stunt team.
So, okay, he's kind of a jerk, but not the worst. What are the actual crimes he's guilty of here? Well, like the Katayanagis, he'd have all the same charges that all the members of the League would, minus assault with a deadly weapon. Yeah, while he does fight Scott, he never uses anything more than his body, so we can't charge him with anything. Additionally, Lucas has his entire stunt team attack and attempt to kill Scott, which would count as another case of attempted murder under the same laws that outlaw people from hiring hitmen. So, that's another life sentence on top there. Starting this fight itself would be causing a disturbance and land him another 2 years and a $5,000 fine. And finally, you might have missed this, but check out this scene. This right here would have been another criminal offense unrelated to his attack of Scott, believe it or not. The building they're fighting in front of here is Casa Loma, a historical landmark in Toronto. So this right here would be classified as damages to a historical landmark and would land Lucas a $50,000 fine. Don't worry though, I'm sure he can pay it off since he is an A-lister, bro. Anyway, all in all, this lands Lucas Lee 40 years in prison, 3 life sentences, and a $55,000 fine. Pretty gnarly, but who's next?
Roxy,
You know this girl?
oh boy,
does she know me?
Number 4, Roxy
here we go.
Richter.
Here we have the half ninja Roxy Richter, who dated Ramona in college when they were roommates. Ramona claims that this was just a phase, which hurts Roxy's feelings.
You and her? It was just a phase.
Just a phase?
Yeah, not a great look. Roxy's
Weirdly, very common.
frustration is genuinely understandable and made even worse because it's implied that Ramona just straight up ghosted her. Rough. I can see why there's some trauma left over here. Honestly, I debated putting Roxy at number 5 below Lucas, since he is just a giant jerk. But when you lay out their crimes, Roxy actually comes out looking a lot worse, all because of this scene right here.
Punched me in the boot.
Roxy attacks Scott not once in the film, but twice, ambushing him after a fight with Lucas. Since she then attacks him again later at Club 4, that means that she would actually have 2 counts of aggravated assault and attempted murder. And she also fights Ramona during this scene, meaning she get another count of assault with a deadly weapon and aggravated assault. The fight in the crowded bar itself would also be causing a disturbance and reckless endangerment, and though it's not illegal to
it's a whip blade, a blade whip.
Own a cool chain, belt, sword thing in Canada,
That
it
is
can
awesome.
get you another 10 years in prison for possession of a weapon for a dangerous purpose, like, say, hurting or killing somebody. Throw in criminal mischief for the property damage she causes by throwing Ramona's hammer through the front wall of Club 4, plus all of the rest of the charges that the league gets, and Roxy ends up with an impressive 97 years in prison, 3 life sentences, and a $10,000 fine. Man, now we are getting into the bad stuff. So, who's next?
Todd's vegan. Being vegan just makes you better than most people.
There we go.
Number 3, Todd Ingram.
And here we are with Superman himself.
Look at that. The third Evil X is taking the bronze medal of evil.
Todd Ingram, vegan extraordinaire. Yeah, being vegan in this universe gives you superpowers. It's dumb and fun, but I kind of love it. Todd dated Ramona in high school. He was actually the guy she cheated on Lucas Lee with, and they were the bad kids. There's just a whole lot more backstory there in the graphic novels involving Scott's big ex also dating Todd, and it just gets messy. Top line, Todd is just an awful, awful person. He's constantly cheating on all of his lovers, and he has a lot of deep-seated psychological issues. And on top of that, he isn't even very smart.
I don't know the meaning of the word.
Like,
He really does
he
it.
sucks. And if you want evidence of that, Todd blew a hole in the freaking moon just to impress a girl twice. Honestly, I was kind of worried that this would throw a wrench into this whole theory. Like, this has to be super illegal, right? This would make Todd the absolute worst, right? Well, not as...
I mean, technically, if no one owns the moon and you damage it, you're not technically damaging anyone's property. Because, again, no one owns the moon.
As much as you might expect. According to the Outer Space Treaty signed by the US and the USSR, it's illegal to do anything with nukes in space. However, it says nothing about the use of conventional weapons in space. That's basically everything other than nukes, so we're gonna be counting the vegan powers as conventional. And what's more, that same treaty says that there's no nation that has any legal authority out in space.
Exactly.
So this couldn't even really be a crime. Turns out Todd can basically use the air bud defense here. There ain't no rule saying you can't blow a hole in the moon, but I digress. If we count up the actual crimes we can charge Todd with, he ends up with all of the same crimes as all the other members of the league, including assault with a deadly weapon. Again, we're counting vegan powers as weapons here. Additionally, we're also charging him with 5 counts of criminal mischief since he broke 5 walls during his battle with Scott. And perhaps worst of all, he's getting another count of aggravated assault for punching Knives so hard it knocked the highlights out of her hair.
Oh, I remember that.
Out of her hair.
And just another note here, Knives is a minor at this point, so really, Todd is just an awful, awful guy. All in all, Todd ends up with 114 years in prison, 2 life sentences, and $25,000 in fines. This one was a bit of a toss-up for Todd and Roxy, but I decided Todd was worse simply because he punched Knives and also blew that hole in the moon. And I mean, come on, really, he is just a piece of work, while Roxy at least has focused her frustrations on just one person. Unlike our next Evil X.
Number 2, Gideon Graves.
Wait. The leader of the Evil X's is not number 1?
Scott Pilgrim!
He literally brainwashes a whole ass place.
Hey, buddy, welcome to the Chaos Theater.
Yeah, that's right. Now we're talking about the mastermind of the whole evil plot, Gideon Graves, also known as the music producer G-Man. Funnily enough, we don't know a ton about this character's backstory in the comics or the films. He also has a completely different backstory in the anime, but it's a long story and we're not going to get into that. Again, today we're only worried about the movie. As Ramona's most recent ex, they met and dated while she was living in New York, but he wasn't exactly a great partner.
I was crazy about him. He ignored me. I was more alone when we were together.
stronger than I ever was on my own.
Yeah, Gideon was your classic controlling narcissist. He was more interested in having someone to control than he was in having a partner, and that extends into all parts of his life. He signed Scott's
He's a puppet master.
band to his label as a means to control them and beat Scott, and doesn't really care that all of the other evil X's were defeated and killed.
You know how long it took to get all the evil X's contact information so I could form this stupid league? Like 2 hours!
Yeah, he's more annoyed at that minor inconvenience than these people actually dying. What
Oh wow, 2 hours. Come on.
a stand-up guy. That thirst for control also extends into the actual crimes he commits, too. On top of the same crimes that all the other X's would rack up, Gideon would also get additional aggravated assault and attempted murder charges for trying to kill Knives and Ramona during the climactic final battle. Additionally, he also gets charges for torture and kidnapping since he installed a mind control chip inside of Ramona's head.
See?
He literally has a way of getting into my head.
Exactly what I was talking about.
Evil.
Which would get him an additional 14 years and another life sentence, respectively. I also considered giving him a murder charge since he does kill Scott, but Scott has an extra life at that point and seems to reset the timeline. So, yeah, gonna let that one slide since it's not clear if it actually counts, and also it doesn't actually end up mattering.
I would count the final timeline for its crimes. It's like Scott dies like twice in the fight with Gideon before finally succeeding.
You'll see. All in all, Gideon Graves is an evil, evil man and gets hit with 102 years in prison, 5 life sentences, and a $5,000 fine. And that's not even considering the potential lawsuit Scott could bring against him for masterminding this whole League of Evil X's plot. But wait, if the mastermind Gideon isn't the worst, then who is?
Exactly.
Number 1, Matthew Patel.
My name is Matthew Patel, and I'm Ramona's first evil ex-boyfriend.
Yeah,
Really?
I bet you didn't expect the very first Evil X to be the worst, did you? I gotta tell you.
No, I didn't. I also expected the leader of it all, the 7th.
You guys, Matthew Patel here is a real piece of work. He dated Ramona in middle school. Ramona basically used Matthew and his mystical powers to ward off jocks interested in her, and then left him soon thereafter.
After a week and a half, told him to hit the showers.
You'll pay for this. Flowers.
Week and a half.
These two dated for just a week and a half. Like, honestly,
Okay, honestly, I can understand his pain. I was cheated on after only dating a girl for 1 week.
this is super messed up. Matthew Patel, buddy, you're still so obsessed with her that you joined a league dedicated to controlling her love life? My man, you need to get a hobby and also see a therapist because there's something seriously wrong with you. This is
Completely.
obsession, not love. But while that's creepy, it's not necessarily a crime, unlike all of the other things we see Matthew do in this movie. Yeah, on top of all of the other charges every member of the league would get, Patel's got a laundry list of crimes. Like Lucas Lee,
Oh,
he'd be
boy.
guilty of attempted murder by proxy since he summons the demon hipster chicks to kill Scott. He'd get a criminal mischief charge for the property damage caused by bursting through the roof of the Rocket building. And since he's the one who
Nice.
sent Scott the email threatening him with the league,
Didn't you get my email explaining the situation?
I skimmed it.
he'd be guilty of uttering threats, which would get him another 5 years in prison. And finally, unlike all of the other evil X's, we actually see Matthew Patel kill people in a timeline that doesn't get reset. Yeah, when he attacks Scott, he actually accidentally kills all of the members of the band Crash and the Boys, netting him 3 charges of negligent homicide.
Oh,
so yeah,
God.
on top of just being a horrible, creepy guy that needs to move on, Matthew Patel is getting 60 years in prison plus 6 life sentences and a $10,000 fine.
Ooh,
So
that's a
wait,
lot.
if that puts Matthew Patel as the worst of Ramona's evil X's, why is there still so much of the video left? Who else can we talk about?
Oh yeah, he's right. There is a whole another 2 minutes.
Number 0, Scott Pilgrim.
Well, now you are being a total ass. Welcome to the club.
Yeah, I know this isn't exactly groundbreaking or shocking film or character analysis, but Scott starts this story as a not-so-great guy. He's an absolute loser, isn't over his ex, treats his friends poorly, is literally dating a minor,
Before you hear some dirty lies from someone else, yes, I'm dating a 17-year-old.
and cheats on both her and Ramona instead of manning up. Yeah, he breaks hearts with little regard for the people he's actually hurting.
Okay, fair. Fair
Me
point.
and Kim are all good now, alright? I was thinking we should break up or whatever.
Really? Oh.
Scott sucks, and if he didn't go through all of the character growth
yeah,
and
he's
development in
kinda
this
bad.
story, he would have been just as bad, if not worse, than any of the other exes in this story. And Ramona even points this out in the movie.
Just another evil X waiting to happen.
Also worth pointing out that when Scott faces his evil counterpart, Nega Scott, who is supposed to be his evil opposite, they actually get on really well. In fact, Scott thinks,
He's just a really nice guy. We actually have a lot in common.
but even without
Oh,
considering
that's
his
not
character
good.
arc in this story, if we look at what Scott does in the film, he'd be in some legal hot water. Like for real, he should have gone to the police immediately after being threatened because a lot of the violence he commits here is completely Scott's fault. Even if we don't count the deaths of Matthew Patel and Roxy Richer, whom Scott fought in self-defense, Lucas Lee, who was killed by his own misadventure, or the Katayanagi twins who were crushed by their own dragon, that still leaves Scott directly responsible for the deaths of Todd and Gideon, both of whom he could have spared or avoided. And not only that, but during this fight at the Chaos Theater, Scott kills 22 of Gideon's goons before fighting Gideon himself. Along with disorderly conduct and disturbing the peace for starting this fight, that would leave Scott with 16 years in prison, a $5,000 fine, and a mind-blowing 24 life sentences. And that, my friends, might just make him the worst Evil X. Or hell, maybe it's Ramona, since she manipulated Matthew, cheated on Lucas, dumped Todd, ghosted Roxy, and cheated on the Katayanagis at the same time with each other.
Honestly, yeah. The Evil X's may be bad, but I would probably be blaming the person that ended up creating the Evil X's by doing all that shiz to them.
Dabbled in being
Oof, that's rough, buddy. But hey, that's just a theory. A film theory. And cut. Up next on...
Alright everyone, that's going to be the end for today's episode, and I hope you all enjoyed this. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Link to the original will be in the description below, and I'll see all of y'all next time when we flick back on. Until then, this is Fox, signing out. Peace.